Once again, I am in the same spot. I'm in the exact same spot, and it is freezing. The air is like blowing down. You would have thought that after yesterday, I knew that it was going to be freezing right here in this spot. So you would have thought that I would have set up somewhere else. But of course, I didn't, because I knew that it worked last time when I was, well, we'll get into that. Let's go. Good morning and welcome to Hashtag Rise and Grind. I am your host, Glenn Lundy. I am a husband to one, a father to seven, and the creator of what is going to be the #1 most watched morning show in the world. It is 5:30 a.m. and I hope that you are ready to rise and grind. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? Wow, I'm so happy to be here, dude. Today is Wednesday, I believe. Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, today is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. That's right, Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. And what's crazy is today is the very first and very last time it'll ever be Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. So I want to make sure we make the absolute most of this incredible day. Fair enough? Let's make the absolute most of this absolutely incredible day. I am sitting here freezing right now in Charlottesville, Virginia, where I have had the opportunity and the blessing to be able to spend some time with the Carter Myers Automotive Group. So yesterday, they actually have 3 groups. They have a Charlottesville, a Stanton or Staunton or I'm not exactly sure how to say it. It's spelled Staunton. So I think it's Staunton, but maybe it's just Stanton and I'm making it up. I don't know. But you've got Stanton, you've got Charlottesville, and you've got the Richmond area. And so yesterday, I got to spend the day in the Stanton area, which is the Scott Simons Group, an organization, the Valley Auto Group. So they got 5 dealerships over there, and I got to spend a ton of time with these incredible people. Spent the entire day, Stanton, just say Stanton. Okay, I spent the entire day with Scott's Group, an incredible organization, an incredible bunch of people. So I got to spend some time in the Nissan store. Obviously got to spend some time over in their Honda store. They also have a Subaru store. They have a Volkswagen store, and they have a Chrysler Dodge Jeep store, which a new one is coming on the way. So I got to spend some time with the amazing people over there. And while I was there, I got to spend a little bit of time with this young lady right here named Kathy. And Kathy, when we first met, she gave me a hug and she told me that she loves watching Hashtag Rise and Grind and that it means a lot to her and that this show had impacted her life in a very special way. And so I sat down and said, well, Kathy, I need a break right now anyway, so I'm so glad that you and I connected. So please just share a little bit of your story with me, if you would, please. And Kathy shared with me that she had reached a point in her life where she was battling with obesity, she was battling with depression, she was battling with a lot of awful and terrible thoughts in her mind. She was battling a lot of thought patterns and habits that she had created in her life. And she was battling these things. And as she joined Rise and Grind, as she was invited into Rise and Grind by the other members there at Carter Myers Automotive, as Scott introduced her to the show, and obviously she got folded into the Morning Five. She was able to let go. She was able to let go of a lot of things in her life that were holding her back, that were slowing her down. She was able to let go of the control over those things and create some new habits and controls in her life. And since then, she's been thriving. I mean, you should have seen the electricity coming out of Kathy as we were talking, like just this energy level that was just this vibrant personality. She's in a position that she loves. She feels like she's adding incredible value to the company. She's grown in the company. She's had massive success. She's lost like 47 pounds. She's lost 47 pounds. She's taken control of her food intake. She obviously, just like any of us, just like you and just like me, she has some days that are good and some days that are bad. But ultimately, she's learned to be willing to embrace those bad days, to embrace those times where she doesn't feel amazing, to be able to embrace that and yet still fight through. Still fight through, ultimately taking control by letting go of control. You see, my question that I have for you today is, are you ready to change? Are you ready to transform that one area of your life? You see, we've been talking about this week. We've been talking about how maybe, just maybe, if there's a habit we want to create or a habit that we want to break, that maybe October's the time to do it. There's something that's been nagging you that you've known for a long time that you need to get rid of in your life. And maybe right now is the time, or there's something that you know you need to be doing consistently, but you don't. And maybe right now, today, October 2nd, 2019, is the day that all that changes. You see, I'm live to you this morning from Virginia, where I'm working with this incredible team, CMA. And it's a team that's winning. They're winning on so many levels. On so many levels, they have a great foundation. They have great culture. They have great organization. They're a profitable company. They're winning on so many levels. And yet, they seek another level. They seek to grow. They seek more for all the right reasons. See, CMA, Carter Myers Automotive, they understand that if they grow as an organization and as they grow as individuals, then they can give back more. The more profits they generate, the more people they can reach out and help. The larger they grow their organization, the more people they can employ, the more lives they can move forward. So they understand this. So yes, they're doing great, but they know they're not. There's another level. And so I'm here with Danelle Delgado. She's here also, and we're training. We're doing a bunch of training, just trying to affect change. That's really why we're here. We're not here to fix something that's broken. It's not that it's broken, and it might not be that you're broken. It might not be that you have this drastic, dramatic, big-time thing in your life. We're just trying to affect change, some small incremental change that can get them to another level so that they can serve more people. Isn't that what you want? Don't you want to get your life to another level so you can serve more people? My guess is if you're watching #Rise and Grind, you do. My guess is you care about people. You care about your impact. The impact that you have on this planet matters to you. And so what I've found as we're working with the Carter Myers Automotive team and as I've worked with other people all around the country, what I've found is that the individuals that are willing, that are really willing, right? Like this willingness inside them, willing to make change, willing to confront what's uncomfortable, willing to go through this process, willing to have to create new visions. Those that are willing, we tend to have that tends to be a major factor towards whether or not we have success. As I walk into different stores and all around the country, some people are willing to have help. They're willing to try to change. And it's much easier to work with those than it is those that aren't willing. So willingness is a major factor of success. I mean, you've heard this before with like Alcoholics Anonymous or somebody turning them into a rehab facility or whatever. You've heard people say like they have to be willing to help themselves, right? I can't help them unless they're willing to help themselves. Well, what does that like really mean? And why is it so important? Why does that willingness have to be there in order for us to be able to affect change? And that's what we've been talking about this week. You see, you are a slave to your habits. I am a slave to my habits. We all are. It's in our human nature. It's something that we've done. We put ourselves on autopilot most of the time. 90% of our thoughts, or 95% of our thoughts, 95% of our actions are on autopilot. We do that for a reason, so that we can process all these other new things. We don't have to focus on those remedial tasks. We just learn them, we store them, we utilize them. We don't have to focus on them. Walking, talking, breathing, all of these different things. They're all patterns. It's human nature. And we've talked this week about understanding that particular fact and being mindful of that. Being mindful of the fact that we are creatures of pattern, we are creatures of habit. And ultimately, we want to turn these habits from bad, the ones that are bad for us, that don't serve us, we want to turn those from bad to good, right? If we're going to be the type of people that we're going to be slaves to our habits, well, then we might as well make them good habits versus bad habits. But listen, none of that will ever change for you. How you doing, Mr. Carter Myers? Great to see you, sir. None of that will ever change for you if you're not willing. And I know that sounds easy, but it's a little bit harder. Are y'all following me this week? Is this a good week? Drop it in the comments, man. I think this is good stuff. Drop it in the comment. I think it's important we talk about this. I think about even just understanding that we are slaves to our habits. I think that's a big win, right? As soon as we just understand that we're slaves to our habits and we have a choice to either make those good or make those bad, I think even that in alone is pretty powerful stuff. But as we dive in further this week, I've been looking in my own life. I've been looking about the things that I do, my own habits. Are they serving me? Are the things that I'm doing best in my best interest? And like, just as we go through this whole series, it's I love growing with you, if that makes sense, right? As a teacher, you get an opportunity to grow with the students. It's an incredible reward. It's a gift that you get as you teach, as you get to grow. So it's awesome. Listen, one thing, what is one thing? One habit that you want to break or a habit that you want to make. I want to focus on one thing. The reason we dial in on one thing is if we try to change a million things, it gets overwhelming. We don't work well that way. We're not good at this. Okay, what we're good at is we're good at creating habits that have served us in the past, that have served us over the years. So what is one thing in October that you want to affect change in, right? Whether it be change something, add for the good, change something, take away something that's bad. What is this one thing? Now, in order for you to gain control, hear me out on this. You ready, Mike Brockway? If you're taking notes, in order for you to gain control, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but in order for you to gain control, you must be willing to give up control. In order for you to gain control, you must be willing to give up control. Now, here's what I mean by that. We are control freaks, dude. We as human beings, we are control freaks. It's just how we are built. We are creatures of pattern, creatures of routine. We crave order. We crave it. We have to have it. Therefore, as creatures of habit, as control freaks, we have manufactured thoughts that we put in our mind that may or may not be true. You have manufactured thoughts in your mind that may or may not be true. You've put them there over the years. For example, you may have thoughts about spiders that may or not be true. I can raise my hand on that. I have this crazy fear of spiders. It's not my dig. I can't stand it. I had one come down. I opened the garage the other day. The spider comes down right as I went to hit the touchpad to type in the code so that I could close the garage. The spider dropped down and it got close to my hand and I went... One of those things where I couldn't even scream. I was so freaked out, right? I have thought patterns that are in my head that don't necessarily serve me. They're not necessarily true. There's nothing about that little tiny spider that I was more petrified of that spider than I would have been if If somebody would have walked up with a gun to my head, I probably would have served myself differently in that case. I probably would have been like, I'll go into my sales skills. I'll talk my way out of this. But the spider gets near my hand, and it's freak show. Complete freak show, right? See, we have manufactured thoughts in our mind that may or not be true. They may or not be serving us. You may have some manufactured thoughts in your mind when it comes to drinking, or when it comes to drugs. Maybe it's something to do with porn or sexuality. Maybe it's anxieties, depressions. We have these things in our mind, right? We've placed them there for good reason, of course. At some point in our lives, we placed them there for safety or security. Maybe we were burned before, or maybe somebody hurt us in a certain way, and so we place these beliefs in our mind and in our hearts. Really, we place these beliefs to serve us. Ultimately, originally, it was a way to wash away the pain. We may drink to wash away pain. We may do drugs to wash away pain. And see, it worked before. In the past, for you, there may have been a moment in your life that wasn't good, that wasn't serving you, that wasn't joyful. And then you went and maybe you grabbed a gallon of chocolate ice cream, or you grabbed a pack of cigarettes, or you grabbed onto someone, or you grabbed onto a drug, or you grabbed onto a drink. Maybe there was some point in your life, in your past, where you were hurt, you were traumatized. Someone did something to you that shouldn't have done. You were a part. You got what you didn't deserve. Maybe something like that happened, and so you went in this direction, and it served you. It was a safe place for you. It made you feel better. It lifted you up. It brought a smile back on your face. And when you went to that place and it served you, you've now stored this thought that you feel like every time you're in pain, every time you're in struggle, every time you feel less than or no self-worth, then you run to this place that no longer serves you. You see, these things, these manufactured thoughts and ideas that we've created, these habits, we are a slave to them. And the only way for you to gain control is you have to be willing to give up control. See, you have to allow yourself to experience the pain and the uncomfortableness. It's how we gain control. I was talking to my mom a little bit. My mom deals with anxiety. She deals with worry. My mom asked me, she's like, how after 60 years, 65 years of being a worrier, like how do we really turn that off? Like, how do I change that habit? And the answer that I say to my mom, as I know she'll be watching today, because she watches every single day, the best way for us to affect change is we have to allow ourselves to feel it. We can't run from it anymore. We can't hide from it. That's what we tend to do. We tend to take this uncontrolled action, this thing that we place there, and we run from it. The anxiety builds up, and so we run from it. We try to cover it up by eating, or we try to cover it up by distracting ourselves. We try to cover up the depression by doing something that makes us feel good, or maybe we try to go shopping or put on some different clothes or do something different, when in reality, you have to be willing to shoulder it fully. Your anxiety and your depression, I want you to shoulder it fully. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Cry. Feel it. Experience it. Lose control over it. And when you survive, it loses power. Maybe you were harmed as a child. Maybe somebody did you wrong and you've buried it. You've buried it deep, deep, deep down. I highly suggest that you bring it back up. Talk about it. Get angry about it. Punch a pillow. Don't punch a wall, you hurt your hand. Punch a pillow. Get angry about it. Experience. Share it with somebody that you trust. Share that experience that you went through, that painful time in your life. Talk to somebody about it. Feel it. Feel it. Embrace it. Cry. And then when you survive through that, it will lose its power. It will ultimately lose its power. Smoking, the cravings, working out, don't really feel like it, or it hurts, you don't like it, you don't enjoy it. Listen, if you just are willing to allow it, you don't have to like it. It might upset you, but if you're willing to allow yourself to be uncomfortable, willing to allow it, embrace it, then when you survive it, it loses its power. My son Joel, the other day, man, there was a spider in the house. I was like, Joel, we got to get that, or that spider's in the house. I think that spider would be better outside of the house. That's what I told him. I think the spider would prefer to be outside than inside. In reality, it's dad don't want the spider anywhere near him, right? So I said, Joel, I think the spider would rather be outside than inside. And without hesitation, the boy reached down and he grabbed the spider. And he picks up this woolly, crazy, scary looking thing, and the spider ran out of the palm of his hand and out of the back onto the back of his hand, right? Onto the back of his hand, and he just grabbed it with the other hand and then he threw it outside. Didn't even hesitate, didn't flinch, no big deal. And I told the boy, I'm like, man, you're my hero, man. Your dad I could never grab a spider and do it. But listen, this kid Joel, who will pick up anything, including the bullfrogs around the pond, the fish that dad catch and won't touch, the spiders, all of these things. This kid has no fear of any of those things. But it's interesting. When he was young, he's still young, he's 7, but when he was like 4, he was outside on the play set. And he reached his hand above the slide. And as he reached his hands above the slide so that he could slide down, he grabbed a wasp's nest. He grabbed a wasp nest, and the wasps, he got stung 5 times on his hand. 5 times, and his hand swole up. Obviously, he was a crying mess, and we brought him in. And poor kid, he had 2 broken bones that summer, and it was just a rough summer for him. But I sat my son down in the midst of his pain. I sat him down, and I said, son, son, you're my hero, and you're your sister's hero. He said, what do you mean? I said, man, it's such a good thing that you found that wasp nest. You found that wasp nest, and now that we know the wasp nest is there, Dad can go get the wasp spray, and I can take the nest down. And imagine if your sister Savannah would have got stung, or if Willow would have got stung, or if Meredith would have got stung. Imagine if it would have been one of them instead of you, because you, Joel, you're so strong. You're my boy. And you're strong, and it's your job to protect your sisters. And you did so. You protected your sisters by finding the wasp nest. And yeah, you got stung. You got stung along the way. But that was your way of being a hero to your sisters. To this day, my son has no fear. He doesn't fear bugs or insects or creepy crawlies or any of those things. He doesn't fear any of those things because in his mind, the pattern that we've now created is those things make him a hero. Those things bring him joy. Those are his way of serving other humans. He can serve his sisters by grabbing the spiders and taking them out of the house. He can protect his family by doing the things that most of us are afraid of, that most of us are terrified of. You have things that have happened in your life. In order for you to truly affect change, which is what is required of you. See, you are a child of God. uniquely made by the God of the universe, the God who made everything, made you specifically, uniquely, the way that you are, to be the absolute best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And ultimately, he made you that way so you could affect change in others. You see, the decisions you make, though seemingly small, they matter. They make a difference in your friends' lives, in your family's life, in your coworkers' life. You've made an impact in my life with the decisions that you make. And so I want you to be willing, as we go through this, as we're trying to affect change in you so that you can affect change in others. I need you to be willing to embrace the uncomfortable. Be willing, drop, let go of control. When you feel this thing that you want to change, when you feel it, allow it, be willing to live through it. Because once you survive, you're going to come out of this other side a superhero. You will. You will. When you just let go of control. Quit trying to fix it. Quit trying to solve it. Let go of the control. Be willing to experience it. Watch how much stronger it makes you. Man, if you need more videos like this, you can go to GlennLundy.com. If you need some Rise and Grind gear, you can go to GlennLundy.com. But most importantly, will you do me a favor? If you haven't done so already, hit that share button, and then also come back here again tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. We're going to do this all over again on hashtag Rise and Grind.